So this is my life tracker. It is where I track my habits, my days, and the lessons I learn every single day. Now in my life, I use 2 main systems and 3 advanced systems to hold me accountable, to save me from infinite scrolling, wasting time, procrastinating, and not achieving my goals. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing every single system I use with you today. Now grab your nearest notebook so you can follow along and implement these systems in your life. Let's get into it. Part number 1, the Q tracking system. So before we begin, we've opened up a 7-day free trial for our private community, Discipline OS. Now there are going to be 5 spots left before we close this trial again, and I'm going to talk more about that at the end of this video. Now let's get into the Q tracking system. This is basically a system for exactly why you messed up and how. It's going to be a list of every single time throughout the day where you messed up, you opened your phone, you got distracted, you started scrolling. So this could be many things, from maybe you checked your phone, maybe you skipped the gym today, maybe you didn't work as productively as you intended to, maybe you just were so distracted, you weren't focused, you slipped back into the bad habits. Whatever it may be, you need to know why. And that is where awareness comes in, and that's why this system is so important. Now, every time you open your phone, you need to ask yourself, why, how, and when. So for example, something that I would write in the Q tracking system is something like this. At 4 p.m., I opened my phone. Now, why did I open my phone? Because I wanted to do something. I wanted to respond to a message. But after responding to the message, for some reason, I just ended up on Instagram and I started scrolling. You see, every single habit that you do in your life has a cue and a trigger. Basically, every time you see something, this could be a thought, an event, something happening, or something that somebody said, this is the trigger. Now, the trigger for something is exactly what makes you start thinking about it. And then when you start thinking about something, a good habit or a bad habit, then comes the cue. So in life, you have the trigger, the cue, and then the habit. So you're pretty much tracking all of your cues, because the more data you log, the more feedback you have, the smarter you're going to get, the more aware you're going to get, and the more you're going to be able to just reverse engineer your habits and design your life. Now, if you know exactly why you scroll, when you scroll, what triggers you to just open your phone and start scrolling, the more likely you are to be able to stop scrolling. And that level of awareness allows you to really design and change your habits and change your discipline, and finally achieve the state that you've always wanted to achieve. So logging these things in a journal just like this is a cheat code to success. It is a cheat code to becoming the most consistent, most disciplined, and most focused version of yourself. The version of yourself that achieves all of your goals, that gets to where you want to be, and that, you know, that just like finds success easy, automatic, because they're able to do the things they have to do every single day. You see, procrastination is the absence of clarity. Now, the reason you don't have clarity in your life is because you're missing the right systems, and that's why these systems come into place. So if you watch these videos, it means you are part of the top 1%. Part of the people who are ambitious, driven, they just want to live a better life. They just want to be successful, achieve their goals, and become the disciplined version of themselves. If that sounds like you, subscribe to the channel and let's go to part number 2, the main habit tracker. So this is a very simple habit tracking system, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. So way number 1 is analog. You're going to want to take out a journal just like this, or a piece of paper. It could be lined, it could not be lined, it doesn't matter. And what you're going to want to do is separate the page into 2 different axes. So on the vertical side, you're going to want to write down a list of 1 to 15 habits. Now, 1 habit is obviously not enough, and 20 habits, 30 habits is way too much. So you're going to want to find the sweet spot between number, quantity, and quality. So this could be anywhere from 10 to 15 habits, which you write down, you list down on the left-hand side. And then on the top, you're going to write down each day. So depending on how wide or big your piece of paper, you could do anything from a 7-day to a 14-day to a 30-day habit tracker. And if you have enough space, you could definitely do up to 90 days. But the reason I find that a 30-day habit tracker works best, which is exactly also what I do for my clients, because at the end of those 30 days, you'll have the space to change your habit tracker, add new habits, change up some habits, change the quantity, and just revise your plan. Because every 30 days, you build new habits. Every 30 days, you are a new person. So this is a very simple concept. You just, on the left-hand side, you have habits. On the top side, you have the number of days. And then you just, every single day, at the end of the day, you just look through the habit tracker and you just cross off the habits that you did or the habits you didn't do. So the habit side could be anything from a good habit you want to implement in your life, like reading, journaling, meditating, or it could just be something like a bad habit that you want to get rid of, like no scrolling, no wasting time, no procrastinating, no junk food, no music, etc. So either a good habit that you want to implement or a bad habit that you want to remove. So I'll just leave a couple of examples of my habit tracker, what I use. And the second way is through Notion. So obviously, if you're doing it analog, meaning that you're checking off every box, you can't reset. So you're just going to have to make a new one every 30 days. But on Notion, the system that I use to track my clients' progress is pretty much looks like this. And then every single week, we save the progress, we take a screenshot, and we reset the habits. And the nice thing about Notion is just the usability, the fact that when they make a change, I can see it as well, and just how organized you can make everything. So the first method is an analog way of tracking your habits. The second method is Notion. So if you're interested in the systems we use, then consider joining Discipline OS with the 7-day free trial. Now, if you're enjoying videos like these, subscribe to the channel, and let's move on to part number 3, the needle moving systems. So I'm going to share with you 3 advanced systems that I use to keep my identity at a certain level. Now, we all know that identity is so important. Identity, self-image, the way you see yourself, your self-talk. All of these things, they define your success. They define your ability to be consistent, to do the things you have to do. And the literal quality of your life is determined by your identity. Now, a lot of the times, your identity, the way you see yourself, the way you talk to yourself, are going to be swayed and changed by many things that happen externally. You know, you're going to have one bad business month, one thing that happens, something that somebody said, and all of a sudden your identity changes. So these systems that I'm about to show you make it so that your identity stays locked no matter what. That your self-image all year round is over here. Now the first one is I take a piece of paper and I write down 3 types of affirmations, and every single night before I go to sleep, I pull out the piece of paper and I read them. And I read them multiple times, and when I'm reading them, this is a very important point, I try to feel something. I try to tap into those very emotions that I'm trying to feel, because if you just say something, if you just say affirmations, without feeling anything, then they're pretty much useless. So there are 3 types of affirmations that I use every day. Now, number 1 is I am the type of person who, and then you fill in the blanks. Number 2, I decide to be, and then you fill in the blanks. And then number 3, last week I achieved, and then you fill in the blanks. So pretty much, I'm the type of person who is confident, who is successful, who makes a lot of money, who is calm, confident, and relaxed. The second one, I decide to be rich. I decide to be successful. I decide to achieve my goals. I decide to take action. I decide to not procrastinate and stop wasting my time. And the third type of affirmation, pretty much you write down, last week I achieved a certain result. You write down your desires as if you already achieved them last week. So last week I hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Last week I made this amount of money. Last week I achieved all my goals. Last week I didn't procrastinate. Those are the 3 types of affirmations I use. I write down a list on my journal just like this, and I just tear out the piece of paper. I put it next to my bed where I sleep, and I read it every single night. Trust me, if you haven't done this before, this is a game changer. Now, the second system is the wins journal. So you're going to want to take out a journal just like this and write down every single thing that happened, everything that went well, right? Every single win, small or big win. You're going to want to write it down, because a lot of the times you don't remember how far you've come. You forget about all the progress you've made, and because of that, you stop making more progress. Now, it is very, very important to know that you are making progress, because that feeds into the same identity of a person who makes progress, and because of that, you're going to make more and more progress. But as soon as you lose touch with how far you've come, you lose touch with the identity that you want to be, that is the moment you lose. So it's so important to have a wins journal where you just remember every time you closed a deal, every time something went well, every time you did the hard work, especially when you didn't feel like it. Every time you went to the gym, even though you didn't feel like it. Every time you kept a positive mind in a negative environment. Now, that was system number 2, the wins journal. Now, system number 3 is actually the BOW report system. This is something we do exclusively inside Discipline OS. BOW stands for beginning of week. So at the beginning of every single week on Monday, we write a report that looks like this. So the first thing you write down is I am grateful for, and you write down a list of things you are grateful for. And then you write down main quests, which are all the things you want to focus on for this week. And then you write down side quests. So this could be something like exercising, something like reading, picking up a new habit, something you want to focus on the side. Something that is important, but it's not your number 1 priority. And then you want to write down what went well last week, what didn't go well last week, and one major lesson you learned from the past week. Now, all of our members do this, and the nice thing about this is you're starting off every single week with strong intentions, with the correct mindset, and you just feel good. And you have the structure, and you're just ready to execute, to take action, and to achieve your goals for the week. So if you want to learn how to use all of these systems, then click the link in the description below. We have the free trial, 7-day free trial, open for the next 5 members. So if you're not already too late, then click the link below and join. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care. You got this.